Hello and welcome to the Shropshire Union Canal in Cheshire. Back when I was on my boat, chugging single-handedly around the canals of Great Britain, I'd often have people ask me, wouldn't it be useful if you had some kind of remote control device for your boat, David, so that when you're at locks, instead of having to put the boat here and scamper up the lock and scamper back to the boat and scamper up the lock ladders and so on, you could simply control it from one device. And I always said, yeah, it's not really necessary, you know, it's good exercise, so on and blah, blah, blah. But in fact, it would have been quite handy. And so today, I've come to meet someone who's got exactly that.
This is Gill Gregory, and she's tending to her 60-foot long semi-traditional narrowboat, which she bought brand new a year ago. A former teacher, she decided during COVID lockdowns to retire and sold her house to live aboard. The boat was designed to be as future-proof as possible for when Gill gets older and potentially less agile. Built by the highly regarded company Braid Bar Boats, it is absolutely lovely, a true work of craftsmanship.
And no, this is not an advert. It just so happens that Braid Bar are well known for making very, very lovely boats. They're always winning awards at the Crick Inland Waterway Show, and everything is very well crafted. That's just a fact.
And for that reason, I think we should start with a little tour. I love snooping around other people's boats. There's a lovely light well deck with seating ostensibly to look out, but in reality largely used by Gill's two dogs. Speaking of whom, they were making themselves very comfortable in the forward saloon, which boasts a comfortable sofa bed and lots of solid wood cabinets and storage nooks. For warmth and no mess, there's a diesel stove in the corner, though there's also radiator heating as well. The kitchen has granite worktops and is all electric. This is a gas-free boat, so that Gill doesn't have to lift heavy propane cylinders. That means for cooking she has an induction hob, and you'll notice the electric toaster and kettle. The oven and grill are likewise powered from the battery bank through a large inverter. There's even a compact dishwasher, true luxury. The bathroom's fairly standard, a large shower, toilet and sink. And the bedroom is at the back, with yet more storage over the narrowboat standard 4-foot wide compact double mattress. There's even a TV, and again more cupboards right at the back which house some of the electronics. Outside there's a fair wodge of solar on the roof to keep the substantial battery bank topped up, at least in summer when there might be some sunshine worth having. The semi-traditional cockpit means plenty of space for guests or dogs to sit as you go along. And there's a clue to the propulsion with the controls, as you notice the little display screen, for under the deck boards lies a diesel-electric hybrid drive, so you can run on either the diesel or an electric motor, that motor being a crucial part of the remote control system, as is the electric bow thruster, that being a little extra propeller in the bow which points sideways and means you can push the boat left or right at the touch of a button.
Normally when you're steering a narrowboat you use forwards, reverse, and obviously you steer it via the tiller at the back. When you're using the remote control with a hybrid, when you press the forward button it engages the electric motor to a preset percentage, normally about 70%. Same when you press the backwards button, it engages it in reverse, so that's your forwards and backwards. But then the steering is done via the bow thruster. So when you press left, the bow thruster comes on and pushes the front of the boat left. Same with right.
To demonstrate, Gill started up the boat and then set about preparing for our departure. Removing the fenders, it's generally bad practice to cruise with those down on a narrowboat. She untied the bow line and with the boat now almost free, walked to the stern to do the same at that end. Reverse was engaged, and the boat gently eased itself from the pontoon. There's quite a delicate art to steering a narrowboat in a marina, because the wind always tries to push you the wrong way, and there are loads of other boats close by that you don't want to hit. So here, a bow thruster is a useful addition for sure. We headed towards the marina entrance. The plan for the day was to show off the remote control system, so we'd just be heading to the nearest lock where Gill could demonstrate. It's only about half a mile away. As we went along, the display showed how much electricity the motor was using. Once again, I was struck by just how quiet narrowboat cruising is with an electric motor. You really notice the peace under bridges, where a diesel engine would reverberate like mad. These boats probably didn't even hear us coming. That's the lock. It's a really deep one, and it's here the remote control would be put through its paces. The actual remote is this green handset, battery powered, and Gill always carries spare batteries just in case. Approaching the lock is done just as you normally would, because you need to tie up the boat and go and set the lock ready for use, or at least see if it's set your way. So Gill stepped ashore and used the centre line round a bollard to slow the boat to a halt. With the boat loosely secured, she could now head up to the lock, windlass in hand. As luck would have it, the lock was almost empty anyway, and another boater was helpfully letting the last bit of water out so that we could open the lower gates. Now, imagine having to clamber up that slimy lock ladder, all 11 feet of it, to get on and off your boat. That's the issue the remote control solves. With the gates open, Gill could return to the boat and bring it in. As a single-hander, she'd normally have two options: drive it in and then climb that lock ladder, or haul the boat in from the towpath using a very long rope and a lot of effort. But no, Gill first ties the tiller so it's fixed straight ahead. Then she takes the handset and activates remote control mode on the boat. Strictly speaking now, Gill doesn't need to take the centreline with her at all, but she does as an extra precaution. But in essence, she's now controlling the boat from the handset. Little bursts of forward thrust to keep it moving, and quick blasts of left and right bow thruster to point the nose in the right direction. For anyone watching, the seemingly driverless boat can be something of a shock.
People have said to me, "Oh, have you lost control of your boat, love?" No, it's all under control. It's different, it's new. Lots of people think when it's round your neck that it's a walkie-talkie, but I know what it is and it works for me.
Just another reminder here that if Gill was standing on the boat to drive it into the lock, she'd now have to climb up out of the lock in order to operate the sluices and gates. Even when you're able-bodied, deep locks like this are dangerous places to be climbing in and out of. far safer to do it by remote control, although it does leave the dogs somewhat bewildered. Fear not, Gill gives them reassurance from above. With the boat fully enclosed, a spurt of reverse brings it to a halt, the nose perfectly pressed up against the sill. The rest of the lock operation is as normal, opening the sluices, in this case very gingerly, as it's such a deep lock that the water inrush is substantial. Just a couple of turns is enough to get things started. The boat will drift back from the incoming water, which again Gill can compensate for with the remote, keeping it perfectly placed and not crashing about from end to end. As the lock starts to fill, the second sluice gets its turn, again just a little to start. The dogs were fine. This lock is unusual in being quite so deep and therefore the water so turbulent, but as the boat rose and the pressure subsided, so Gill could raise the sluices fully. Here's the first bit sped up by 8 times. You can imagine you don't want the boat crashing forwards onto the sill, but instead gently kissing the lock gate as it rises up to meet it. Mwah! With the lock full, the paddles can be closed and the gate swung open, which the other boater kindly took care of. In this instance, Gill could just step straight back aboard, but as she was demoing the remote, she used it to bring the boat forward. If there hadn't been another boat coming down, the protocol is that you shut the gate behind you, so Gill would have been able to guide the boat out while staying ashore, shut the gate, and rejoin the boat. It's so weird seeing it do that without a driver.
It's not for everybody. Lots of people are very sceptical about it. You know, you should be able to control your boat without something like that. And I mean, it's a little bit like the old bow thruster argument, isn't it? You know, if you should be able to control your boat without a bow thruster, well, you know, try using your boat without an engine then, because boats were originally pulled by horses. It's what's convenient for me, and it's what means I can boat safely, which is a major consideration for me. I can boat safely using that. So horses for courses, I suppose.
Once back aboard, the tiller is unchained and the boat switched back to local control, whereupon boating can resume as normal. We didn't go much further, just onto a winding hole another half-mile further on, and then back to the marina, which meant using the lock again, of course, but this time going downwards, although the procedure in terms of the remote is much the same. We were lucky again that another boater was waiting to come up, but the lock was full, so they rightly let us come straight in. We would, after all, be emptying the lock for them by virtue of going down in it. The tiller was tied again, the boat in remote mode, and Gill stepped off to close the gate behind us. The boat was brought to the front of the lock, the paddles opened and the water let out. So far, absolutely normal lock operation, except that Gill could keep the boat away from the end of the lock using the remote, so there was no chance of it catching on the concrete sill, which, with a sill as tall as that, would definitely lead to sinking. And here's the remote's advantage again. With the lower gates open, there was no need for Gill to climb or jump down to the boat to steer it out. She could just press a button. As the boat exited the lock, Gill could use the bow thruster to steer it towards the bank as she walked back down towards it, whereupon she'd step aboard and carry on. And for the final time, the motor was switched back to local control. It's easy to see where this comes in handy.
We've got customers out there that are single-handed and live aboard, and the remote control becomes their best friend going through locks, because you can actually control the boat in and out of locks. You can especially coming out of single locks going upstream. You can get the boat out the lock, shut the gate yourself, and actually control the boat so you can get on it. Yeah, so it's dead handy.
While I was at the boat builders, I chatted to the buyer of their latest craft. He's had the system installed as well.
We were building a boat for the future. You know, I'm about to retire and we wanted to be able to use it a long time. And I wanted to be able to get off the boat and help my wife with the locks. And although we can do it now, we can go up lock ladders. I'm thinking a few years' time, it's going to be hard to do that. So that was a big motivation with the remote control. If technology can do the job, why not use it? And that's my theory.
I must be clear, this technology is not some exclusive for Braid Bar. Any builder fitting the system from Hybrid Marine can install it. They just happen to have built this boat. As always, I hope you found it interesting. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.